All right, be honest. Is your branding looking blah? Could your brand actually be turning off potential clients? Maybe you're wondering if you need to do a little update this winter or if you need to burn it all down and start fresh. It's branding season for wedding pros, and I want to have a conversation around branding today and identify the 5 signs that your brand is starting to look a little stale. Hey there, friend. Welcome back to the Power and Purpose podcast. It's me, your host, Candice. Today, we're talking about branding, and we're going to go through the 5 signs that your brand is starting to look a little blah and that it might be time for a rebrand for your business. Branding is usually on the top of everyone's mind at this stage of the wedding season and at this stage of the year. You know, the fall is when wedding season starts to wind down for many wedding pros. And it's when we have more time to focus on our business and on our branding. And we can start to make decisions about what we want to do for the next year. We start planning for the next year. And inevitably, the topic of branding comes up in my coaching calls with women in my mastermind Wedding Pro Insiders and with my students. And so I thought, okay, this is a great opportunity for us to get ahead of the curve and to really talk about branding and whether your brand is looking stale. And if it's not just looking stale, but if it's actually turning people off, if people are going to your website or they're going to your social media and they're like, nope, hard pass. I don't think they're doing that. But I do think that if you've had your brand, your current brand for a while, talking 3, 4, 5+ years, and your current website, it may be time for you to start thinking about a rebrand and preparing yourself to undergo a rebrand, because a rebrand in your business can be actually a pretty big undertaking, no matter how big your business is or where you might be heading in business. Rebranding can be a big undertaking, and it requires preparation. It requires thought and understanding of your business and where you're heading and where you're going. So it's best that you take your time to prepare for it and know in advance when you will be able to financially do it, also put time towards it, and when you're going to understand where you want your business to head. I feel like we should do a podcast episode on preparing for a rebrand. Maybe I can bring in a guest. If you know somebody who should be talking about this, let me know. But I feel a podcast episode brewing as we're talking already. So today we're talking about the 5 signs that your brand is looking a little stale. And I'm going to ask you this question. Do you feel like your brand is getting a little blah? Are you just feeling like, I don't love her as much as I used to? Or maybe you're noticing that your website just isn't wowing potential clients like it used to. It's not, it's not making people rush to contact you like it did when you launched it. Or perhaps you're feeling that nagging itch, that little scratch that it's time for a change in your business and for your brand. I want us to hit the ground running this engagement season. I want us to make sure that you are so prepared for sales this year, more prepared than you've ever been in your career. And I think that examining your existing brand is part of that preparation to understand if there are some tweakments that need to happen or if we need an overhaul. Like, do we need to go in for just a little Botox and filler? Do we need a laser treatment, or do we need a deep plane facelift? And if you are like me, then you love all things skincare and you have already picked out your facelift plastic surgeon. Yes, I have. When the time comes, I am going to show up on Instagram bravely, with courage, with my new face. And you're going to be like, oh, wow, she looks great. Yes, I do. All jokes aside, though. We need to figure out whether you need to prepare for a facelift for your brand in order to maximize sales season, in order to maximize your potential for 2025, because your brand is the first impression that you make. And it's more than a logo. It's more than your website. It's the culmination of many things about your business and about you. But if it's not saying the right things, then it could be actually costing you business. And I see this time and time again, where the lack of branding or poor branding or dated branding, which is a big one, which is something that maybe people don't want to tell you, that your brand Girl, it looks old, but we're going to talk about it. These are all things that I see, and they can cost you business and they can cost you money. Now, I'm going to share signs that you don't need a rebrand too. So don't worry. You want to listen to the end, because I do think that a lot of us tend to slap a band-aid on a gaping wound when it comes to branding and to our business, I should say more specifically. And what I mean by that is I think a lot of times we think, oh, I'll just rebrand to get a new website and then all my business problems will be solved. And that's just not the case. So I do want to talk about when a rebrand is not the thing you should be doing, when it's maybe the least thing that you should be worrying about. So let's dive into the 5 signs that your business is looking blah and it's time for a rebrand. The first sign, and I think this is one that you will agree with, and this is one that you'll be able to say yes or no to right away, is that you're not excited to market your business. You're just not excited about your marketing. You're not excited about sharing your website. You feel sometimes even embarrassed by the way your website looks, especially compared to your competitors or compared to what you're seeing trend-wise in the marketplace. You're just not excited to market your business. The truth is if you're excited about it, you're going to talk about it. And I see this time and time again, even from folks who aren't that great at marketing. When they're excited about something, though, they really love talking about it and they love marketing it, creating graphics for it, sharing it with their audience. If you're not excited to market your business, that is a pretty significant sign that it might be because your brand is blah and you're not very excited about your website, your branding overall, and your business. So if the thought of sharing a website link has you feeling embarrassed, then that's definitely a sign that you might need to rebrand, because your website is so important. I think it's even more important than social media. I mean, your website is it is the home of your business, and it's very important that that space be one that you're eager to share, but also one that eagerly shares about your business and sells your ideal clients. Right now, your website is either making it easy to say yes to booking you, or it's making it harder. And if it's making it harder, that's a sign that you need a new website. And with a website tends to come a little brand refresh or a rebrand. Make sure you tune into episode 122 with Alex Collier. We do talk about this, and Alex gives you some good advice if you haven't heard that episode yet. Now, aside from just not being excited, you might also feel like you keep showing the same thing over and over again, and you're not excited about it. When you're excited to share the same thing over and over again, that's a good sign, because marketing is really just sharing the same thing over and over again. But when you feel like you're just sharing the same thing, the same weddings, the same images, the same stock photos, the same, carousel tip situation on Instagram, the same reels, like everything just feels so formulaic and unexciting and redundant and exhausting, that is a sign that you're not excited to market your business. I mean, who's going to be excited to share that? And that it might be time for a little bit of a rebrand. So not being excited to market your business is one of the biggest signs. Now, before we move on to the next, I do want to say that a rebrand can take some time. So if you've already decided in listening to the first 10 minutes of this episode that, bitch, I'm getting a rebrand, like I already know, this is not a free pass to wait until you rebrand to start marketing your business. This is definitely something that I think a lot of wedding pros make a mistake on is if you made a decision to rebrand your business, you might think, I'll have to wait till my website's done. I have to wait until my rebrand's all done before I can market my business. And that is actually doing yourself such a disservice. And the marketing you have to do if you take a long extended break during the rebranding process, the marketing you have to do to catch up is so great. It's just not worth it. You don't need to wait to market your business. until you've rebranded and have a new website and everything is all shiny and new. And if you do wait for that, you're going to be doing yourself a huge disservice for engagement season. So unfortunately, you have to sort of siphon the excitement that you have for your new branding and your new website and all of this great stuff that you're going to be doing. You have to take some of that energy and infuse it into what exists today, because you need to pay for that shit, girl. Like you need to pay for your rebrand. You need to pay for your new website. You got bills to pay, and you also have clients to help. So it's important that you continue to market your business even while undergoing a rebrand process. This is not an excuse to take a break, okay? The next sign that your brand is looking blah and it's probably time for a refresh is that you can assign an era to when you created your logo. This tells me that your brand was definitely on trend and that trend has expired. Your brand is the skinny jean. And apologies to anybody who loves skinny jeans. You do you, girl. But skinny jeans are currently out. They're so out that I literally took every pair of skinny jeans I have and I brought them to the consignment shop. I was like, you don't have to tell me twice. Because putting on a pair of skinny jeans when you have put on a pair of 10 pounds extra is not a fun experience. So I'm like, baggy jeans all the way. But if you can assign an era to when you created your logo, like, oh, that was my deer head era. And I love using that example because there was like back in 2010, there was a deer head era for logos. Every logo had a freaking deer head on it. I wanted to change Jubilee Events to a deer head logo. Like, what? What about me says deer head? Nothing. But it was so trendy and it looked so great. And I can instantly tell that I can assign it a date, much like Taylor Swift's eras. I can assign it a date. This is also kind of applicable to the watercolor logo of its time, the rustic script font logo. You're picturing this in your head, aren't you? You're thinking, yep, either I had that or I have that, or I know somebody who has that or had that. You can picture this in your mind, right? There are many other eras, and I won't go through them all. And I don't mean to offend anybody. So that's not what this is about. But what it is about and what it's meant to illustrate is that there are periods of trends where we see trends come through every industry, branding wise. And those trends sweep businesses and they look great for a time. But unfortunately, when the trend passes, you can tell that the brand was branded a while ago and it ends up looking really dated. And this just isn't with business. It's with fashion. It's with home decor. It's with makeup application. I mean, you can apply it to so many different aspects of your life. And if you are like me and you're in a period now where you're refreshing things in your life to feel more current, you're definitely going to want to look at your business logo if it followed a trend that was some time ago. Ideally, you want your brand to feel timeless. And sure, that sounds easy, but it's not. It's hard. Even then, it needs to be updated from time to time. Even Nike updates things, even Coca-Cola updates things. The core of their brand design is still there, but they do make tweakments. They do get a little adjustment here and there to make it feel more modern and current. So you want your brand to feel timeless. And this is where hiring a brand designer to come in to understand your style, the core essence of your brand and the core essence of who your clients are, and to help you come up with a brand that isn't going to feel trendy in 2 years' time is so important. But you do want your brand to feel timeless because you avoid some of these instances and you can just make a slight tweakment, whether it's add a bit of color or slightly change something, and your brand feels fresh and anew, but still retains its identity. I also think that you need a strong foundation with your brand, because I don't want you tearing it all down every time and like wiping the slate clean and just slapping up a new trend for your brand. And so that might be what you're facing right now. And we don't want to repeat that mistake, especially if you're going to invest in a rebrand and a new website. I want you to do this thoughtfully. I want you to do this carefully. And I want you to do it with intention so that in 5 years' time, you're not burning it all down to the ground and having to start over because your brand looks like it belongs 5 years ago in an era. I will say from a client perspective, and you likely have experienced this too, when you go on someone's website and it looks old, immediately trust is broken, at least for me. When I go to somebody's shop or something online and I'm browsing around and the design of it's old, the look of it's old, instantly I think, oh, the products must be old. Or are they still even in business? Like this doesn't feel very current. Feels like the chair cover and sash of 2009 trend. Like it feels like a satin linen. Like it just, it feels like chevron, which are all very dated styles, which will likely come around again someday, but just aren't in vogue right now. There is a sense of mistrust that comes into play. And this is how you might be losing people if your brand looks old and stale. So if you can assign an era to your brand and when you created your logo and when you created your website, it's likely time for you to give these things a refresh. The next is it's blending in with the crowd. And this is tough. And when you follow trends, this tends to happen. Right now, we're seeing a very neutral trend happening. Next week, I'm interviewing a special guest who's going to talk about luxury branding and how luxury doesn't have to be neutral. So I'm very excited for you to listen to this conversation coming up. But if your brand is blending in with the crowd and it looks like everybody else's and it's no longer standing out, if it looks like it belongs in general pop, then it might be time for you to reevaluate your branding as a whole. You want your branding to be recognizable. You want people to instantly know your brand. And if it looks like every other wedding planner or every other photographer, I have some sad news to report that you're just blending in. You're not standing out. And it might be time for you to hit the refresh button. And not just that, but really try to go in a different direction, staying timeless, but not falling victim to the latest trend that is going to make you blend in. I'm all for adding a bit of trendiness to your website, to your brand. I'm all for doing that as like an extracurricular design element, but not as the main focus of your business. I'm also all for using templates. My website is a template. I'm all for using templates. I buy templates and use them in my business. I make templates and I sell them in my shop. I'm all for using templates, but if you use a template, you need to add your own flavor so that you don't blend in with the crowd. Think about scrolling Instagram and every other Instagram post looks like a template that everyone's using right now. It just blends in. It loses its sense of uniqueness. It becomes too familiar. And while familiar can be good in business, it helps to create trust when something feels familiar, like we know it already. That can be helpful. It can also be a disservice when everything looks the same because you're just not standing out. So, how do you differentiate yourself from the competition? How do you stand out? You don't. So if you feel like your brand is blending in with the crowd, this is a good excuse to shake things up. Whether it's add a little bit of color, add something unexpected, do something different, but go back to your templates, go back to your website, and bring in some seasoning, bring in some flavor. Another sign that your brand is looking blah is the wrong types of clients are contacting you more often than the right. And this sucks. This is a big glaring neon sign that your brand probably needs a bit of an overhaul. We talk about this in my course, The Client Cocktail, which is my secret formula for booking out magazine worthy weddings. If you haven't taken this course, you should. You can go to clientcocktail.candicecoppola.com to learn more. Just go to my website and you can find the link to it. Very affordable. It's like $47. It's literally meant to be inexpensive, but to give you big results. But we talk about this in the client cocktail. Your brand should not be designed to attract everyone. Your website, your brand, your business, it's not going to be for everyone. And in fact, it should be a way to filter out the wrong people. So if the wrong type of client is contacting you, your brand is not doing a good job at repelling them. And you need to go back to the drawing board of your website, your logo, your marketing, your copy, your services, your vibe, and figure out what about what you're saying and doing and putting out there is like saying, hell yeah, contact me with your no budget, ugly ass wedding. Sure, let's do this. That sounds like friggin' awesome. You need to figure out where the disconnect is. And largely it is in the visual representation of your brand, your copy, and in the service level that you provide, and in just the general services that you're providing to people. So if the wrong types of clients are contacting you more often than they're right, this is a big glaring sign that you need to shake things up in your business and get realigned with the visual representation of who your business serves. The next and final sign that your brand is looking blah is that your style has changed, but your brand hasn't. And I've fallen victim of this as well. So I speak from experience on this one. I think when you start your business, it's normal to blend it a little bit because you follow what other people do, and what they're doing is a guide for what you should be doing. So you follow along, and that's okay. It gets you to where you need to be so that you can start making your own decisions about your style. So when you begin, your style might look a lot like the people that you look up to, the people you admire, whose businesses you follow, and whose businesses you almost model your business after. That's so normal. I wouldn't have you change anything about that because it's how we all get started. But as you grow and as you work more weddings and as you become more comfortable with how you do things, how you say things, what your business stands for, the clients you represent, and your own personal style, like as an individual, your style should and actually needs to evolve into something that feels uniquely you. Coming up on the podcast, we're doing a behind the brand case study review of businesses that do this really well, whose brands are recognizable, and women in the industry and people in the industry who have built businesses that are recognized. And I think that part of the secret sauce behind this, and I'm just hypothesizing here, I haven't interviewed any of these amazing people just yet, but those episodes are coming. But I'm hypothesizing that part of their success is because their style has evolved to, their business brand style has evolved to match their own personal style. And they've gotten really clear on what they like, what they don't like, what their personal style is. And that personal style is identical to the style that their clients want. And they're able to bring their essence into their business and mirror back to their customers what the customer wants in their own personal style. So I think that part of a brand that's recognized is understanding what the style is, the style your clients want, but also that style matching the style you enjoy and how your brand mirrors that back to the right types of clients. And when you are stylish and you understand your style, it reflects in everything you do. It's not just what you wear, or how you decorate your home, or how you paint your nails, or how you do your hair, or like anything like that. It manifests itself into the weddings that you might plan or photograph, or the creative work you do in this industry. And it also is manifested in the overall business branding you have in your website. So as you grow, as you become more comfortable and confident in this industry, your style should evolve into something that feels very unique to you, but familiar, approachable, and wanted by your ideal clients. It should also stabilize. So I feel like there comes a time in your life where your style stabilizes and you just like, this is you. You're not changing your hair color every 5 minutes. You're not changing your style. You found something that feels very much like you, and your style begins to stabilize. And you're no longer experimenting and having wild swings, but it is very focused, and you can look at an image of a wedding and know it's yours. Like you just know because your style has stabilized and it's consistent. The experimentation phase, though, with style can last many years. I mean, for me, I feel like I just really found my style in my mid 30s, and I'm still exploring, experimenting, but I know the core of who I am and what my style is. I know I love color. I know I love a neutral moment. I have a bit of an eclectic vibe, but I know myself and I know my style. And I've experimented in style for many years, and you might find the same is said for you. So your style has changed, but your brand hasn't. And you've become more comfortable and confident in what your style is, what it means, what it looks like, the colors, the aesthetics that you are gravitating towards, the weddings you want to be a part of. Like, you know it, but your brand, your website, your marketing, it hasn't caught up yet. Now it's time for it to catch up with a rebrand or a refresh. Now let's switch some gears really quick and talk about reasons why you don't need a rebrand. Because the last thing I want you to do is be like, woohoo, let me rebrand, and think that this is going to solve a bunch of my problems, when in fact your problems are these things need to be kind of solved first, and then you should you should enter into a rebrand. You should not rebrand if you think it's going to fix everything in your business, because it won't. It won't. If there are systems or processes in your business that are just not functioning, if your client experience sucks, if you are not managing your time well, if you are not managing your tasks well, if you are just not growing in the right direction, a rebrand is then not going to fix any of that stuff. Not even close. Not even close. A rebrand really is about evolving the face of your business to match everything inside the business that people don't necessarily get to see and touch. So my advice would be, first, master the insides of your business, know who you are, know how you function, get your business functioning at like a max capacity of like 75, 80% good all the time. And then from there, you can rebrand once you've solved some of the core problems that a lot of businesses face that a rebrand just isn't going to solve. Things like if your sales are low, your team isn't great, your clients aren't happy, the experience is poor, your systems are not very good. Those are not things a rebrand is going to fix. Another reason why you shouldn't rebrand is that your sales were lower last year and you're panicking right now. As much as I want to give you a quick fix, a rebrand isn't a quick fix. And I'm afraid that you're going to end up with this year's deer head logo that might attract a few trendy clients to you, but in a year's time is going to feel dated again, and you're going to be in a similar situation. Your sales being low can be because your brand is looking blah and stale. But I do think that there's more work to be done in understanding what's contributing to lower sales. And if what you've uncovered as a portion of that is because you need a rebrand and a new website, new messaging, new marketing, then I'm all for it. But I don't want you in panic mode thinking that hiring a brand designer and getting a $10,000 website is going to solve your problems, because it's not. It can make things better, but some of those fundamental problems, like not marketing your business consistently, not having a marketing strategy, not networking, these are all things that contribute to low sales. And if you're not willing and prepared to make changes there, a rebrand is not going to do much for you. Another reason why you should not rebrand is that you're just bored. Being bored of your brand isn't enough. Although I do think, if you are excited about something, you're going to talk about it. But just being bored of your brand isn't enough reason to rebrand. Maybe doing a little bit of a tweak, maybe experimenting, maybe trying to figure out where you're feeling excited or creative is a good place to start. And that might lead you to a rebrand, but it's not enough to slap down your MasterCard and spend a buttload of money on a rebrand. Another reason why you should not rebrand is because you're looking for something to do. I think a lot of times, I see this often as a business coach, people take up tasks to keep them busy so they can avoid doing things in their business that require deeper decision making and that are quite frankly harder. John Acuff calls this a noble task in his book, Finished. And I love his book, by the way. Finished is one of my favorite books by John Acuff. I love him as an author. I love this book. He talks about noble tasks. These are things that we just jump to. These are tasks we gravitate towards because they make us feel good doing them. We feel noble doing them. And we do them to avoid the things we don't want to do, because the things we don't want to do are hard. They're not very fun. They're not very sexy, or they require us to make decisions that can be scary or difficult. I see this a lot where business owners start rebranding as a noble task, thinking it's going to solve all their problems, it's going to fix their sales issues, it's going to fix issues in their business. They're bored. And so they jump over to rebranding instead of confronting some of the things that are going on in their business that actually need to be confronted. Some of the deeper rooted problems, some of those problems being that they don't love their business anymore. They don't love the work. They're not happy with their clients that they're serving. Their systems are broken. They're exhausted. They're burnt out. So they jump over to this rebrand as a noble task, thinking it's going to solve their problems. And once again, it's not. So if that speaks to you specifically, then you know that rebranding is just kind of slapping a Band-Aid on something. And there's likely other decisions in your business that a business coach or that an advisor can help you sort through, so that if you need a rebrand, you can make the best decision to do that. Now, if you do decide to rebrand, now actually is a great time to dig into that process. Rebranding takes more time than you think. I think it takes about 1 to 2 months to start and can take 3 or 4 months to complete. So we're talking like half a year. We're talking 6 months for a rebrand. It's probably not what you were expecting, but it does take time. And it also, depends on the availability of the designer that you select. And top designers for wedding pros are booked out 6 months in advance. So you might have to jump on a waiting list. Now's a very good time for you to start researching brand designers, researching website designers, researching the team that you'd like to assemble, copywriters, marketing support, business coaches, whoever you need to have on hand to help you do this. Now's a good time to start researching those folks and understanding what's the lead time they need in order to take on your project. It is a much more time-consuming process than most people realize. You also need to be ready to make big decisions about where you want your business to go in order to get the most out of your investment. A good brand designer is going to ask you a slew of questions that maybe you've never considered before about your business, and they need to know what your vision is for your business's future. They're not going to design you just a brand for today. They really want to build you a brand, a website. They want to write copy for you. They want to support you in building a brand that's built to last, something that can be built for tomorrow, especially 6 months from now when it finally launches. So we don't want what we're doing to already pass trend-wise or to already feel dated by the time we get it out there in the world. So you need to be ready to make big decisions about where your business is going. And that can feel really hard. I know, trust me. I'm in the process right now of making some big decisions about my business, things that I'm excited about. But I have also assembled an all-star team of business coaches, more than one, to help me make some of these decisions, because I have a lot of things to think about. And I don't want to try to figure it out myself, because I'll just procrastinate and not do it. You need to have the right team assembled to help you make some pretty big decisions about your business. I also want you to know that engagement season is going to be here before you know it. Really, at a flick of the wrist, it's going to be here, a snap of the fingers, and it's going to be sales season. Praise the Lord. Hopefully, we have a really profitable sales season this year. And so if you do feel like everything I've touched on today is resonating with you, you're like, I think I need to get a rebrand. Like, I'm rocking all 5 of those. This is, you've just described me to a T. This is a great time for you to begin, because by the time your brand launches, it could be February, March, who knows? So engagement season is going to be here before you know it. And I would love for you to be walking into engagement season feeling really confident in your business, feeling confident in your marketing, and feeling confident in your mission and brand. So if you feel like your brand is looking more blah than you'd like, and you've just been nodding your head throughout this episode, hopefully I've given you a laugh or two. You're like, yeah, girl, I need a deep plane. And I have my plastic surgeon picked out as well. Love you for that. We are definitely besties. It might be time for you to get a rebrand. And my best advice would be to think about what you want the word rebrand to mean for your business, and then start interviewing designers and interviewing more than one person to take on this project. This is one of the pieces of advice that I've given the women in my mastermind who are currently going through this process or who have recently gone through it. I've encouraged them, interview more than one person. Just because you vibe with one person doesn't mean they're the right fit. It's important for you to not just look at pricing and costing and the overall process, but also to just see what other people are like, their approach, their attitude towards it, the type of energy they bring, if they're excited about your rebrand, if they're not. So I want you to start the process now of interviewing people, more than one, 3 to 5 is good. And see where those interviews take you. You don't want to rush the process, but you likely going to want to get things moving very quickly. And if you want more support in the rebrand process and you want an additional think tank on your team, a business advisor, I would love to talk to you about your business and to see if it'd be a good fit for you to join me inside my mastermind, Wedding Pro Insiders. Joining the mastermind is by application only, and you can go to weddingproinsiders.com to learn more about the experience, what's included, and also sign up for the wait list to be notified when applications are open to join us again. But I would love to help you walk through this if you would like more support. I do think having a business coach when you're walking through these things is a game changer. It helps you make decisions. And it's just nice to have somebody's eyes on your business too, who wants to see you succeed, also knows what goes into branding and understands the process and can help guide you. So go to weddingproinsiders.com to learn more about the mastermind if you would like my support in this season of shaking things up in your business. Now, I've linked to all of the resources I've mentioned in today's episode of the podcast. And coming up next week, I have a special guest joining me talking about branding and luxury branding in the wedding industry. And we're talking more specifically about how color has been considered not luxury in the industry. And we're kind of flipping that concept on its head and talking about how color should be perceived as luxury in the industry when it comes to branding and how you can infuse color into your brand. So definitely come and hang out with me in that episode if you're a color lover and you don't want to fall victim to the neutral trends that we're seeing right now, which I love. I mean, I love a neutral moment, but I know that this trend will pass and that it will feel dated in the years to come. So stay tuned to next week's episode for that. All right, friend, thank you so much for listening to today. It's an honor to support you in your business. I want to remind you there is so much power in your purpose, and I'll see you next week.